Hey everyone. All right. On our webinar today, got some cool stuff. Going to show you TokenSuite and all bunch of other amazing things that you can do with tokenization. A lot of fun. All right, cool. We're at 19. I think we'll probably get a few more over the next few minutes, but I'm going to get started. I'm going to share my screen and let's get a move on. So today's webinar, today's presentation, the future of moving real-world assets to the blockchain. Behind the scenes look at TokenSuite. So welcome everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, today's presentation. If you are logged on, you are definitely in the right place today. And a kind of quick overview of like who is this webinar going to be for? Who's the perfect the individuals who are going to get the most out of what we're going to be covering today. So it's going to be asset owners and issuers and their teams that have a tokenization strategy and are looking for the best way to tokenize their assets. It's also for people who know a little bit about tokenization and want to know how it's going to benefit their business. It's also for people who know nothing about tokenization and are looking for ways to manage their assets more efficiently. That's kind of the core benefits of tokenization. Most people think about tokenization as a great way to be able to raise capital and to be able to kind of get into the next world of digitization. But one of the main real benefits, kind of the hidden benefits, is just allows you to run your business better, allows you to manage your LPs better, and we're going to cover a lot of that in today's webinar presentation. Give me 1 second. The chat seems to have disappeared. I want to make sure I can get my chat window where I can see it all. Doesn't seem to be working for me. All right, so we'll see. There it is. Got it. All right, fine. So if you guys do leave a chat, I'll be able to see it now. Very cool. Okay, so here's what we're going to be talking about today. 3 main things. So we're going to go through the details of how tokenization works. High level, what's the process? What needs to be done to actually enable tokenization? Then we're going to walk through, and this is going to be kind of more from the strategic, high level view, and then we're going to get down to the details and show you how you can actively do this on TokenSuite. And then also in the end, we're going to get into some things that you can do with your tokens. And this is one of the real benefits of tokenization, is that once you have these tokens, it creates a lot more flexibility with your asset. Creates a lot more flexibility and enables you to be able to do more things, get access to DeFi loans, other capital, etc. And we'll get into some of those things that you can do with these tokens later on. We're going to start. What is a security token? Let's start with the fundamentals, right? So a security token is using blockchain to issue a digital security of a real world asset using digital tokens on the blockchain, right? So we're issuing digital securities, right? Just understand, like, what we're issuing, it's not a crypto token, right? This is a security token that is fully aligned with all SEC regulations, and it is regulated as a security by the SEC, following all those regulations. But we're using blockchain technology as the platform and as the basis to be able to enable, right, this to be able to be done on the blockchain, right? Again, in crypto are assets on the blockchain. So we're like, blockchain is the foundation, crypto is the asset. We're using the same foundation of blockchain, and we're going to use that now as a foundation for our security tokens for our real estate, right? So same thing, different asset, same foundation. That's how when a blockchain fits in to this whole ecosystem, just so we're clear on all of our terms. So what can you do once you do this? You can make your assets available digitally. I didn't even mention this, but you can also fractionalize it. That's one of the real benefits of doing tokenization. You can fractionalize your asset, sell off part of it if needed. Access to DeFi lending gives your LPs a lot more value because they have a lot more control over their assets, a lot more visibility, as well as also a lot more options for things that they can do with it. And in general, just unlocks a lot of new opportunities for an asset and for things overall. We're talking right now with or I shouldn't say, but let's say this person has an interesting operation where they're growing I'll say it's apple trees, right? And they want to tokenize the trees. They have a whole business actively today, people who buy the trees, and then when new apples are grown, they pay them the percentage of the yield. They want to tokenize the whole operation. There's a lot of things that you can do when you tokenize to be able to get a lot more options and make things a lot more easy for running your business. So on a high level, the goal, the way the tokenization process works is to be able to take any asset and be able to give it the liquidity and the benefit of trading like a stock, right? So I generally will say that with tokenization, that real estate, right? You're basically now can own real estate, but you can trade it the same way you could a stock, right? That's the same. That's what it is. Like the real estate's its own market, but now you can get access to that market and in ways you never could before by giving liquidity. So the process works. You're going to move your real world asset. You're going to mint your tokens with Solid Block. And now you have options to be able to trade those tokens on trading platforms. Tokens are able, people are able to buy those tokens, and then also again getting access to Web3 finance and loans and other things with those tokens. It's kind of the whole value chain right here of how the process works and how you're able to get all the different benefits through tokenization. They should NFT every single Apple and track out their distribution and sale. Very cool. That would be that's definitely an option. All right. So again, who is Solid Block? Just to know who we are. We were the company that really launched this entire industry. We're the first company to tokenize a commercial real estate asset, which is the Aspen coin, or in the St. Regis Hotel in Aspen, Colorado. And again, all the numbers and benefits of the growth of that token very soon afterwards. So I'm just seeing some questions here. So tell you what, I will get to questions later on. So you're welcome to drop them in the chat for now. But I will I may or may not get to them now, or otherwise I will address them when we get to the end of the webinar today. Okay, so the actual process, right? To actually do tokenization, there's a legal setup first. This is really kind of like where the big idea is being able to use a legal process to enable tokenization, right? So generally what's done is we'll add an addendum to the PPM, which enables this the tokenization and for the trading that happens afterwards. And there's a legal setup that has to happen at the beginning, right? So the issuer, this is our client, will set up the entity, the SPV, and they'll create their initial offerings and materials. Then once they have all in place, they'll come to us, right, and we'll start setting up their project. So we'll be able to they'll be able to create the offering on the TokenSuite platform. They'll have an account for them. We'll get everything moving with them. 2 weeks later, we'll start building the smart contract. The smart contract is built off of the logic of the PPM. So basically, the PPM is going to come and it's going to give all of the rules and logic about who owns what, how things are going to be distributed, etc. And then it's going to be executed via smart contract to ensure in a transparent way that the tokens are executed accordingly. And then depending on the offering, depending on certain other details, somewhere between 3 to 12 months, so 3 to 12 month lockup period before you can trade this on exchanges. This is an SEC rule to be able to actually trade this on the exchanges. But after that point comes, then you would be able to put this onto a secondary exchange and have it start trading. So let's dive into TokenSuite. So TokenSuite makes it easy for asset owners to move ownership of real-world assets to the blockchain and join the Web3 economy. And now what I'm going to show you in this demo is going to be kind of 2 sides of the users on TokenSuite. So you have the issuers, people who are actually issuing the assets, and then on the other side you have the investors who are actually the ones using the platform. So I'm going to go through the dashboard for the issuers. What does their experience look like on the platform? How the issuers are able to then manage the token holders, their LPs on the platform, how they can do onboarding and fund collection through a touchless automated way. This is something we get a lot of feedback on. That's just a huge time saver. And it basically allows people that once someone closes and decides they're going to take part in the offering, instead of having to deal with administrative paperwork, they're onboarded very easily onto the platform, and then that leaves the issuer with more time to go and find more investors for his project. Now on the flip side, for the investors, you have the dashboard for the token holders, right? What is their experience like? What are they able to see and do on the platform? How they're able to manage their tokens, and then we'll go through yield and interest distributions. Again, in terms of the asset management component of the platform. So let's give you a look at TokenSuite. So this is TokenSuite. This is the dashboard for the issuer. So an issuer logs in. This is going to be what they're going to see and what they are going to experience. They'll get all the information they need on their platform. So they're going to start with the information you can see, the total assets that they have on the platform, the historical performance over time. They can again see that they can then see the details of the assets they currently have that are minted and are issued and are trading on the platform, as well as non-minted assets. So let's say if you have an asset that, let's say what we have a fundraising tool, and not a platform, it's a tool. Very important distinction. Solidblock doesn't do fundraising. We are a platform where you could send LPs to be able to onboard them, but we don't do the fundraising ourselves. But what you can do here with a non-minted asset, you can keep track of the state of the funding for that particular raise, and then when it's done, you can start tokenization. You can get everything on a kind of a bird's eye glance over here on the dashboard. You can also create a new asset right here. This is also the experience you get when you first log into the program. Walks you through all the information you need to submit. So the name of the asset, all the information, the relevant documentation, just walking you all the way through. When it's done and click create your asset, this kicks off basically the legal process with lawyers, and to begin the legal part of getting everything ready for tokenization. The last thing you're able to see here on the dashboard is going to be just information on the investors, who's invested in the project, the top investors overall, as well as top investors by project. That's just at a glance when you first log into the platform. Then I'll kind of do a deeper dive into what the specifics of what you can do on the platform. So let's go over to the investor area. So on the investor portal here, there's the section where you can see the active token holders who are on the platform. So here you can see all the information, who they are, information about them, what tokens they're holding. If you need to, you can go into additional details with them, and you can see who they are, information about them, what their wallet ID is, what assets they're holding, all their documents that they've signed, their activity log, what they've done on the platform. It's a very, very good good way to get for customer service. People do need help if investors do need help on the platform. And then that's the active people who are actively holding tokens on the platform. When it comes to onboarding them, there's basically two ways to do it. So you can just upload a CSV of a file of people who you want to invite to your offering, or you can invite them one by one here, put their information in, and then send them an invite. And then everyone who's invited will appear in this list with the marked status of where they are in the onboarding process. So I'll show you in a minute what that onboarding process looks like. But basically what happens here is they're going to receive an email inviting them to the offering, and that email will include, information about the offering, links to the PPM. It's also going to include a link to the offering page, and this is the offering page where all the action happens in this process. They can go over the offering page here, and they can get all the information they need about the asset, right? So they can see it, get images, videos, links to any documentation they need. You can basically turn this into a whole sales letter and write up what you want going down the page. And then when they're ready to invest, they can check out almost like they would an e-commerce process on Amazon, right? They can buy their digital shares, they can select how many tokens they want to purchase, be in their checkout process again, and now they're literally checking out like they would in any other e-com store. But we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to make sure everything's done fully compliantly here. So they're going to click proceed. They're going to create an account with us, and then they're going to start the KYC AML process, right? So KYC AML is baked in automatically to the platform, walks them through the entire sign-up process to make sure that they are verified before they send over any funds, to make sure they're accredited before they send over any funds. And it's not just what's done on the platform itself. When it comes to I don't know if I have a background in e-commerce, right? So one of the things that we would do a lot is we would do something called an abandoned cart email. So somebody, let's say, put their product into a cart and didn't check out. We had their email address. We would send them emails reminding them to come back and complete their purchase. So we actually have the same thing here with the KYC AML and the funds. If someone abandons this process, stuff happens. They get busy. They have to go take care of a kid or whatever. Who knows? They're going to get automatic emails reminding them to come back at each step of the process to be able to complete that onboarding. To complete the onboarding, the KYC AML, and collect their funds. So it follows them around, make sure they actually complete it. And the goal here for the issuer is they can spend a lot less time now, emailing people asking for their passports and asking for whatever, to be able to get people onboarded. And it's all done in the back end right here in TokenSuite, right? They also do a full accreditation check. and to make sure that this is done for accredited investors, because again, these tokens are primary sales, and can only be sold initially to accredited investors. And then when they're done, then they open up their account. Now they can get to the payment area, and they're able to send over their funds. They can pay in credit card, send a wire, ACH, or they can pay in crypto. I'll explain a little bit about crypto because some people have some questions about this. So the crypto aspect, right? So we set everything up. If you have your own bank, great. We also work with banks that can work with crypto, no problem. And this can be set up a few ways. So this can be set up. Oh yeah, hey Justine, yes, you do know a place. Your place is famous. So the way the crypto account is set up is if someone is okay with it, they can send over their fees in Bitcoin or Ethereum or any crypto, and they can hold it as is, right? The question usually is the volatility. People don't want to hold something that's a bit more of a volatile asset. They can also send over USDC, which is a US dollar stablecoin. They can also send over and accept Bitcoin or Ethereum, or it would instantly convert to fiat. And they can hold them just the fiat, or this entire option can be removed. There's no requirement for someone to pay in crypto, but it is an option if somebody wants to include it here. Most people, by the way, choose credit card or wire. That's usually the most common thing. But again, these are the options that you have on the platform. So we have somebody now who's gone through KYC, AML, they sent over their funds, they're an investor, they now have a login, they're onboarded onto TokenSuite. What is their situation, or what's their experience like now on the platform? So I'm gonna hop over here to the investor portal. Now this investor portal, by the way, can be fully branded. So someone was asking about white labeling before. Yes, the whole platform, by the way, can be white labeled. But this section, the login area, can be branded however you want to be branded, with logos, colors, etc. And when they log in, the information that they're able to see is what their total amount of investment is, what their total P&L is, other information. If they're invested in a yielding asset, they can even get an estimate of what their next payout is going to be. It's very handy tools for them just at a glance to get information about that. Dr. Walker, I will answer your question towards the end. It's a good question. All right, fine. They can also see the historical performance over time of their asset, or of their assets that they have, and then they can see the individual assets and the information on those specific assets here as well. So this is where they can kind of dive in, get some more information they want on the asset, so they can dive in, get more information on the asset, and this is also then where the investor is able to take some action on those assets. Again, the main for the investor, there's really two main, maybe three main benefits to holding on to tokens, right? So the first one is going to be obviously liquidity, right? The idea that they can now take what would used to be kind of a chunked investment that was pretty hard to get out, and pretty easily sell those tokens. The other option is they can use these tokens for loans, and the other one is also they can take kind of self-custody of those other tokens as well. That's something that they would require. Now, it's not a requirement, by the way, just kind of give you a little overview of what Salbach has done here. Some of the feedback that I get from people is that Web3 and blockchain right now is in very, very early stages, right? It's actually pretty complicated to do. If anyone's ever tried to buy a NFT on OpenSea, right? So you have to understand the Ethereum network, the Polygon network, my keys, all this stuff back and forth. You can buy on the Ethereum network and then you have to redeem on the Polygon network. It's confusing if you don't know what you're doing, right? It's not ready yet for the masses. So while this is all built on top of blockchain, you can see really what we've done is we've built a great UX UI over it that's very accessible to a much wider group of people, right? So they don't need to actually know how blockchain works. Now, someone who does, right, 100%, they can take those tokens, they can hold it in their own MetaMask wallet if they want. But I wanted to just make the point that this is not something that has to be exclusively people who are into crypto, because the interface is designed to make it as seamless as possible for them, right? So here, if they, for example, want to sell some of their tokens, they click on the sell button right here, and they can sell their tokens. They can choose which asset they want to sell, how many tokens they want to sell, what their asking price is. Kind of there's a few kind of options they have for selling those tokens. So the first one is they can just sell to other people who are invested in the project. So they can just post it basically OTC bulletin board style. And then other people are able to say, hey, some tokens are available. I want to purchase them from you, and that's it. You're done. It's done. There are other options, and this is going to be this is what's going to be integrated in the future. Actually integrated in right now. It's a manual process, but it'll be actually integrated in where once you're ready to kind of trade on the secondary market, where they will be able to just integrate straight with one of the exchanges. Somebody was asking about exchanges before. These are security token exchanges, so places like T0, INX, etc. I'll talk a little bit about that later. But these are the things that they'll be able to do straight from the platform to be able to sell off their tokens to on the secondary market. So this is an overview kind of what the investors are able to do. The last thing I want to show you is how the dividend and interest or yield and interest dividend payments work. So this is a kind of quick story. When I showed this to somebody, he said to me, like, he had an asset. I think he had 50 investors in the asset, and he said that every quarter he sits down for hours, days, calculating what people are owed and writing checks to them. So I showed him this, and he was like, "You're telling me I don't have to write any more checks? Like, I don't have to do that anymore." So the way that this kind of works, again, so I kind of showed you, here's how somebody is able to sell tokens, right? So what happens in terms of the updating of the cap table to be updated with who is going to be able to be the owner, or keep track of who the owner of these tokens are. So the benefit of having a blockchain-based cap table is that everything is fully tracked, and the cap table is instantly updated, almost instantly updated. The developers always tell me it can take up to 15 minutes, but usually it's within 2 or 3 minutes. The cap table is almost instantly updated with that information, which means that, let's say, I'll give a super simple example. We have a yielding asset, and every quarter, we're going to calculate what our income and our expenses are, and what the profit is, and what the LPs are owed. Now, in terms of breaking it down, particularly for a wider group, and I'll just mention one thing as well. Like, one of the benefits, let's say, of having automated KYC AML is that you can get a wider group of smaller investors, right? Because just doing everything compliantly usually requires a lot more handholding for the larger people. So that's why it's worth it. But this enables you to get a lot of smaller investments. And the same thing when it comes to doing these payments, right? Being able to manually or manage everything manually can be a headache. So the way it works is that you'll calculate what your profit is total that you owe your LPs. You'll send it up to the platform in USDC, and in one click, it gets sent out to everybody's wallet. Okay, their dividend payments for that quarter or for that payout period. They'll hold it in USDC, and they can decide if they want to hold it as USDC, they want to send it to an exchange or convert to another cryptocurrency, or they can just liquidate it straight to their bank account. It's up to them. But at this point, like, this is not the token hold. This is not the tokens in the project anymore. This is now their payouts. This is actually how it's being sent over to them. And again, it's sent over in USDC, which is a US dollar stable coin. So it's not sent over in Bitcoin or any of the more volatile crypto assets. So this right away, right there, can be a huge time saver for everyone. So that, in a nutshell, is an overview of TokenSuite, the various things you're able to do to be able to manage your assets on the platform. Now what I want to do is kind of show you kind of like what the next stage is, what we're getting ready for, to be able to really, the question is what you can do to actually get some additional uses out of those tokens. So I'm going to explain how kind of DeFi loans work. So if you have a bank right now, usually the way it works is if you want to go and get a bank, the bank will give you a loan based off one of two things, either your credit history or based off of some type of collateral that you'll give. Now, let's say you own a $1 million building, and you say, and you want to take a loan for $100,000. So you say, okay, I'll use my building as collateral for the loan. The problem is, let's say you don't pay the money back. Right now, the bank's going to say, okay, we have $1 million building here, you're giving us as collateral. The only way for us to get our $100,000 out is now to go sell it, right? Because technically, you still own $900,000 of that asset. So you got to go sell it, get the money out. A lot of lawyers' fees, long process. It's annoying. So with tokens and blockchain, it simplifies the whole thing, and you don't really need to have the banks involved. So there are a lot of people out there, who are willing to give money and lend money to good causes. But how do you do that in an environment where where there's risk? How do you make sure that the person's going to pay you back? How are you going to make sure that that everything's going to be executed properly? So the way it works is like this. So you're going to have an example. Your asset owner here, that could be you, whoever you are, watching the webinar, and you have your, what's usually your illiquid asset. Now your asset-backed tokens that you can use as collateral. You can send this over now to your DeFi platforms. Now you're going to have small lenders from all over the world, or big lenders from all over the world, who are going to say, hey, this person's looking to get a loan. And he's using this thing as collateral, these tokens that's, let's say, backed up by a building in North Carolina, right? Whatever it is, that building has value. So he's going to say, great, I'm going to give you the loan. And let's say I'm going to ask for a 5% interest rate, right? Just as an example. And you got to pay back 10% every 3 months, right? Making up the terms here. So they give you the capital. The capital goes to the asset owners. Now what happens is the smart contract will manage the interest payments to the lenders using the tokens as collateral. So what does that mean, right? So let's say the end of the first 3 months come. You got to pay, what I say, 10%, 5%? You got to pay 5% back. And you say, okay, well, I don't have the 5%, right? So then the smart contract can be like, okay, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that value, that 5% value, out of your tokens and give it to the lender. Now the lender is part owner in this building, and he can now use these things, and he can trade them. He's owner, or he can go and liquidate them himself. He's now owner of that asset, right? So it's a way to use blockchain to ensure that loans are repaid on time, again, in a fully transparent way. And as a way for you to be able to really take your real world assets, fractionalize them, and use them to be able to get these loans. Now, hopefully, you won't have to worry about the repayment, because you're going to go and invest in something else and get more money and pay back with no problem, right? But the point is that it's all related to trust. It's all related to trust. And by having this based on the blockchain, it's fully transparent, and it's able to be executed in a way where everyone really is safe and gets what they need out of these various deals. So that's an overview. Time for questions if anyone has them. So I'm going to jump over to I'll actually stop sharing so you can see my wonderful face. And let me check. I know, by the way, there's a chat area. There's also a specific Q&A area. So you're welcome to drop a question in either area. I'm just going to go back and see now what were some of the questions that people asked. Okay, I think I answered some of them. Let's see here. Okay. Someone asked, can you tokenize services? That's a good question. How do you, because usually tokenization is taking something that can be owned by if it can be owned by a business, it can be tokenized, right? So if that makes sense. So if you have a business that has a certain amount of cash flow, a certain amount of value in that business can be tokenized, right? The LLC can be tokenized. So that would be technically a way that you could do that. Is there a white label version of your platform? Yes, there is. We work with white label, so if you have any, feel free to reach out to me. We can talk about that for you. Which exchanges, like I said before, security token exchanges, and I'll just kind of clarify what I mean by that. So, these are securities. These tokens are securities, and where things that are going to be sold for kind of initial primary sale, they need to be done in a regulated way, and can only be sold to accredited investors. That being said, so they're going to be sent over to these security token exchanges, and the goal is, if you want to, let's say, get access to the real goal with a lot of people's vision and kind of goal with tokenization was to be able to open up real estate investing fractionalized to a lot more people, right? So because of the individual assets, people might be who are not into real estate might be hesitant to do it. But what you can do is you can build then a index coin out of, once there's a large enough amount of these security tokens that can take ownership in a number of different properties, and then it can be the average of that thing, and that's something that could then be issued to Coinbase and then be sold and given to retail investors. Well, retail investors technically can buy this after that 1 year lockup period. So that's the question. The exchanges that we work with are, again, security token exchanges, T0 and INX. So we don't allow retail investors, just accredited. Yes, exactly. For the initial primary sale, just accredited investors here. This is going to depend on the fund structure of the asset. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I think what you mean is because I had a lot of people asking me this question. There's a few options when you think about funds. So you can actually just create a fund, with multiple that own assets, and then you just tokenize the fund, right? And then that gives you a little freedom to be able to buy and sell assets within, let's say, that company, the SPV, and then the coin itself is actually the token for the actual fund itself. The other option is you tokenize all the assets, and then the fund owns those assets. So there's a few ways kind of doing it depending on what your goals are, what you're looking to do. Will the token holder be able to decide the selling price of the tokens? It's a good question. So they will, but yes and no, right? So there will be a fluctuation or a range they'll be able to tokenize in, but the smart contract, like the issuer can basically plug into the smart contract what the range is that people are able to trade in. Let's say it's 5%. Just going to make that up. That's people can trade for 5% over the token price, or 5% lower, nothing beyond that. The other thing also to be aware of is that the actual value of the token, most of it is not in the trading price. It's going to be in the net asset value of the asset. Again, one of the benefits here is the transparency, of everything that happens. So all the offering documents, right, all the information is going to be is going to be not publicly available, but privately available on the blockchain to anybody who would be able to purchase one of these tokens. So they'll be able to make their own decisions, etc. Okay, so I just saw one person did leave a question here in the Q&A section. I have a rule: I don't answer anonymous questions on Zoom. So if you want me to answer a question, then just plug your name, and I'm happy to do so. Okay, will the token holder be able to decide? Okay, fine. How does the cash flow get into the system? I think you asked this question when I was talking about the yield and the interest distribution. So the way that the cash will get into the system would be the same way that you would get any cash into a crypto system. You hook up your bank account and you say, okay, great, there's $300,000 now, and let's just buy USDC with it, and it's going to pull out your bank account, and then you can send it over to your wallet, and you're done. So that's how cash gets into the system. Again, if you're familiar with Coinbase, essentially that's the same way it would work. You plug it, you connect it to your bank account, and then when you say, okay, great, this is how much we're gonna use, and then it says, great, that money we're gonna pull out of your account, no problem. Are all these transactions on chain, all the payments distributions? Can you see the individual transaction? Yes, you can. Yes, you would be able to see that. I have to jump to, okay, fine. Let's do so service, for example, maintenance. I'm not sure what that means. Can you just clarify that? Does Solidblock hold custody of all the digital assets, or can I operate on your platform via non-custodial wallet? Okay, fine. Yeah, so it's a good question here, kind of about a custody. So Solidblock does not actually own anything for the asset on this platform. So we don't own, we never touch the money. We never own the tokens. So what we do, or kind of the way it works, is that it's always going to be the issuer's wallet. Here, just give me a second. Let me see. Take a drink. Give me 1 second. Right, it's going to be the issuer's wallet, and it's going to be the investor's wallet. And what we're doing is we're facilitating that movement. But the wallet itself is going to be a kind of institutional grade Gemini wallet, right? So it's the benefit of doing kind of a custodial wallet like that is, again, like we were talking before about, we want to make this simpler for let's say non-blockchain techie people. So having a custodial asset is just going to be way easier for them. Also allows us to have a little more control, just to make sure people don't lose their keys and stuff like that. That being said, that if somebody wants to then hold it in their own MetaMask wallet, they totally can. After they go through KYC AML, they go through a know your wallet process, because we have to know which wallet is going to be holding the tokens. They can send that over to their MetaMask account, no problem. The other thing also, just to be aware when it comes to these tokens and trading them, again, in order to ensure compliance, right? These tokens can only be sent to a wallet that has been attached to a person through a KYC AML process. So obviously they're going through that process on our platform, but also with secondary exchanges. If they like let's say T0, for example, right? We know if someone's saying something over to T0, they're sending that information over, and that they've done KYC AML on those wallets. And we would get that information to be able to ensure compliance there. But if someone wants to transfer to somebody else's Coinbase or MetaMask or Ledger wallet, without going through the process, they just won't be able to do it. It won't execute. The smart contract will ensure it's only being sent to a wallet that we know who the person is. Okay. Can I explain the collateralized DeFi loans again, please? Okay. What do you want? What do you want to know? Basically, I'll make it very simple. You have token, I have money, right? That I loan you, I want interest back, and the smart contract makes sure that the whole thing executes. It makes sure that I get my money back or I get your tokens. That's basically how it works, and you get your money. That's basically how it works in a very, very quick nutshell here. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second. I want to pop this out because I'm having it's a very small window on my screen here. Here we go. All right. As a real estate broker, if I have a client who wants to tokenize an asset and sell off parts of it like the St. Regis, how can a broker act as part of the process? So the way that you can do this is that you would basically be able to be plugged in and get a percentage of any sales. That's kind of how that would work. Like if you are the broker for this, then we can work on details. Let us know. We can work on the details for you exactly how it would work. Basically, you would get percentages of that of anything that's sold. Okay, as a realtor who works with builders and investors, is there a use case where I can use the platform to facilitate and manage funding from my investors to flow to my builders? What might cost you? Oh, I'm trying to understand your question. As a realtor who works with builders and investors, got that. So basically, investors are paying you and you're building a project. Got it. Is there a use case where I can use the platform to facilitate and manage funding from my investors to flow to my builders? Sure. They're sending you funds, and that fund's going to your bank account. Pay your builders with it. Like the funds go to you, by the way. Like when they go through their that onboarding process after KYC AML, they send the funds over. Like that fund, that money goes into your bank account. That's yours. So you're the one now giving them the tokens of the asset that you own, right? So sure, no problem. That's not an issue. Do token holders have any control over management? How do token holders protect themselves from bad, dishonest management? So again, I would ask that question, like, how do you do this in general with an asset, right? In general with an asset, this is one of the reasons why, only accredited investors are allowed to invest in the primary sale, is because the theory is that an accredited investor is going to be savvy enough to be able to ask all the questions they need to ensure that this person is not a bad, dishonest person. And then that being said, if anything, blockchain gives you a huge leg up because everything is transparent. You're going to get access to all the documents. You see all the activity that's going on in the blockchain. It just allows you to be able to get a lot more transparency on this entire process. Again, like you got to compare it to what you're doing today, and it's definitely safer, I would say, in terms of having that transparency in the overall process. So a property manager would have to be able to deposit USDC. Yes, they would. I will say one of the things that we're planning to add here into the future would be an actual fiat payment system. It's just easier to do with the crypto because you don't have to. It's just easier. It's just easier with crypto. But the goal is, like we've had people ask us this, the goal is to actually have an actual fiat distribution hub set up. So it wouldn't be crypto in the future, but that'll be a future feature that we will be adding. It would be great to understand if you can connect your bank account and credit cards. Sure, no problem. Yes, you can connect your bank account and credit cards. How does the asset performance data get inputted into the system? So that right now is going to be a manual process. We're talking to a number of people who actually do asset evaluations and having an automated process to do that, but that's kind of how it would work for now. It would be, you'll get an appraisal done, and the results of that appraisal will be uploaded and inputted into the system. Is there a way to pull equity from a property? What does that mean? Can you pull equity from a property? Can you just clarify your question? Right. I mean, like you're talking about selling it. Like, what are you referring? Or are you talking about you have an existing asset and you want to now tokenize part of it? Is that what you're asking? Like, what can you just clarify your? Yeah, that second one. Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, sure, no problem. Basically, like that's what St. Regis did. St. Regis said we're gonna tokenize part of the building because we want to do renovation and we're gonna raise the money for it as needed. All right, cool. So any more questions, guys, before we have some minutes? I wanted to check one thing. What are Solidblock's fees for using your platform? So Derek, if you want, you need to touch on me afterwards. We can talk about your project and build out the proposal that would work best for you. Just want to check one thing here. Hold on a second. I want to check one thing here. Got it. Okay, fine. Cool. That's it. All right, guys. If you have no more questions, we're basically at our time here. So I really hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. Actually, let me share my screen real quick. There's one more thing I want to show you guys, because this is going to be relevant, I think, for some of you. So if you are interested in speaking more detail about your specific asset and project, you can head over to our. You can do it this way. You can head over to the website solidblock.co, click the big purple button to tokenize an asset. Also, you can feel free to shoot me an email. If I don't get back to you by the end of this week, I'll get back to you early next week, and we'll set up a time to talk about your specific project. Cool. Oh wait, we're gonna have a few more questions. Is it okay to trade these tokens in all U.S. states? Yes, it is. It is okay to trade all those tokens. It's set up as a Delaware LLC. That's how it's set up, and then there's no issue in any of the states to be able to trade these. All right. Okay to trade in Canada too. Yes, it's okay to trade in Canada. Again, I'll explain this kind of because like international, like the question usually winds up being if you have an international asset, right? Usually what we'll actually do is we'll still make a U.S. LLC that will become the owner of that or that asset in the other country, because the regulations are all in place in the U.S. And just makes the regulation simpler. And then once it's set up, you're collecting information about those individuals anyways for the investors, etc. All right, everyone. I will see you. I'll talk to you guys all later, and shoot me an email if you have any questions, and look forward to hearing from you and helping us move tokenization forward into I don't know, I can make some weird statement here, into the next century. All right, see you guys later. Bye.